send the invite.
Yo,
Yo, how's it going, mate?
can you
Alright?
hear me? Yeah, all good, all good.
Oh, good man. How's your morning been?
Yeah, tough. 5-5's a sparring, a lot of drilling, so
Yeah, get,
getting the work in.
yeah, definitely getting the work, mate. It's ongoing that 5-5s.
Yeah,
So,
it's what we gotta do.
yeah. What kind of drilling are you doing? You just
Just
striking or?
all different stuff really. Just been doing this like wrestling drill that we've been doing with Colin. Obviously, they've gone away to UFC London now, so we've just been keeping that up, and then
Yeah,
obviously, yeah, just making sure that we're getting the 5-5s in, so we're getting used to doing them 5 rounds. We do a lot of rounds anyway in the gym. We're used to doing 5 rounds, sometimes more than that, so we're always fit for that anyway. But just getting used to feeling the five at a good pace.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Let's jump into it then. So, before we get into your upcoming fight, in your last fight, you fought George Corney.
Yeah.
When we last spoke, he said you didn't know too much about him except that he was an hard fella. But did he do anything in there to surprise you?
He didn't really do anything to surprise me. No, he was quite strong. No, he was tough. Thought I would be able to finish him. Um, I had his back a few times, and when I did have his back, he was moving, he was doing all the right things. So it didn't really surprise me. Obviously, I, everyone's you're not going to be able to just finish everyone so easily, but it was good to go the 3 rounds. Obviously, I'd like a finish, but it was what it was, and not taking anything away from him. But that camp, I did have like a bad back, and I couldn't really wrestle as much as I'd like to. So I did like sort of feel that in there, but you know, he was tough and he was strong. He didn't give up. So yeah, fair play to him.
Yeah, yeah. As you say, you weren't able to get the finish, but it's still getting that experience in with doing the full rounds, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
So let's get your opinions on your next opponent then, Alexander Perev. Do you know much about him coming into this one?
Not really. No, I've watched a couple of his fights. Seen like little things that apparently he's got like a wrestling background, which is something that I'm excited to test myself against because a lot of the time, like that's what I like to do is grapple and wrestle. So someone who's got a wrestling background just to see, how I stack up against someone like that. Um, and yeah, as I say, I don't really know much about him. I've just seen a couple of his fights. Really, he likes to throw a lot of jumping knees, a lot of spinning attacks. He looks in good shape. So I'm excited for a tough test, hopefully.
Yeah, I think what I've seen of him, he he has a few submission wins, so I think that sort of goes into having the wrestling base as well,
Yeah,
doesn't it? So
yeah, definitely. So we'll see who's grappling reigns supreme.
yeah, yeah, definitely. So you mentioned there that you're doing rounds, you're drilling. Are you changing anything much up in training for this one, or is it keeping it the same and still improving?
Yeah, it's just keeping it the same and still improving, all the time and all year, every day. I'm just working hard. I'm making every aspect of my game the best that it can be. So, I'm just trying to, keep me striking on point, keep me grappling on point, me wrestling, and I'm just doing literally everything I can, trying to learn as much as I can in the gym. I've been, doing pads with the head coach Colin as well, which has really brought me striking on quite a lot as well. So I'm just excited to show a little bit more of myself when I'm in there. I think that when I've fought in the last few times, I haven't really still scratched the surface of what I can do. Still
Yeah,
only, a few fights into my career, still getting, used to it, to being in there. So each fight, I just want to show that little bit more and show that I am a complete fighter.
yeah, yeah. Every fight sort of give away little by little things where you've been improving. That's all.
Yeah,
I'd say each
exactly.
fight you see that improvement.
Yeah.
You mentioned there about Colin and doing the pads with him. When we spoke to some of the lads from Aspire, we spoke to Jack and he mentioned Till and doing pads with him and how realistic his pads are. Colin's pad work similar.
Yeah, you don't get much realer than Colin's pad work. Obviously, if Till's been doing to Jack probably what Colin kind of does for him kind of thing, you know what I mean? And anyone who's done pads with Col will know like what I'm talking about. It's just like, one, because he's the head coach and because it's such a privilege to do pads with him, you'd always want to perform at your best. And also he puts a pressure on you when you're doing the pads, and you've really got to sort of go for it, and it's a like high pace. So when you're doing them kind of pads, it's next level stuff. And as I say, it's a privilege to be able to do them because he doesn't just give them to everyone. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
And I'm assuming, excuse me, I'm assuming they're being quite vital in this one, just having that there where you may not have had it before.
yeah, some camps he has done, some camps he hasn't done it. But when he does do it, I do feel a difference, and I do feel a lot more confidence when I have done them in terms of like me fitness and what I'm learning when he's going through things with me. So it is a big help. He obviously knows that this is a big fight for me, and we've got 5 rounds to shine and try and put this guy away.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So at the start of your pro career, you had two fights in Bellator, one in Birmingham, one in London. Were those contracts just one fight contracts, or were you offered anything else after them?
No, so it was a proper contract. I think it was 4 or 5 fights over 2 years, something like that. So it was no, it wasn't just a one fight contract where they were bringing me in to fight. It was a um, multiple fight contract with them. And then obviously I had me 2 fights, won me 2 fights, and then I was expecting, 2020, this is going to be a big year for me. I'm going to come out, get more wins, and then obviously COVID happened, so
Yeah,
it sort of messed everything up in that sense. Where one, there was no shows going on. Two, my contract was like a 2-year contract with X amount of fights, and by the time COVID had come and gone, the contract had actually ended. So they
right.
just decided they cut a load of fighters, and they just decided during that point, he just said to me that we're not going to be coming to England and putting shows on, so we don't want to sort of hold your career up. Go elsewhere, fight on local shows, and then we'll see what happens in the future, kind of thing. And I think obviously it was a bit of a blow, but it sort of done me the world of good because that as soon as I was ready to fight again, I was active. I had 3 fights in like 5-6 months. So when you're doing things like that, if I was fighting on Bellator, there was no way that I was going to be able to be that active.
Yeah,
So it sort of worked in my favour, and it is what it is. We're still climbing
yeah,
the ranks, and we're still going to get to the top no matter what.
yeah, definitely, mate. Like you said, you wanted to 2020, you wanted that, and you thought that year was going to be you were coming out.
Yeah, seriously though, it's
But
just like it's crazy how much it did mess everything up. But what can you do? Everyone's in the same boat, and I just had to keep my head down and keep working hard.
but to be honest with you, mate, the year after that, you got straight into it. Know what I mean?
Yeah,
You're still undefeated, and you're putting on shows. You're fighting for the title now. Know what I mean? So you've put that work in, and
yeah.
it's
So it's
showing
showing
now.
now. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
During the lockdown, I didn't just didn't I weren't just doing that. And at the beginning, it was a bit like all up in the air. But then as soon as like we knew that we could just train that little bit, we was like sneaking into the gyms and getting in there and like doing bits here
yeah,
and there. And then obviously the UFC was still on, so while that was all going on, we was all still training full time in the gym because the UFC was going. So we had Mike, we had Till, we had
yeah,
all these people who were going to be fighting. So we all had to be in doing like UFC fight camps with them. So it weren't like wasted time. We were literally doing the hardest work you've ever seen. and not even fighting. You know what I mean? We were just doing it for doing its sake. So
Yeah,
it's all good experience.
yeah. At least you're able to keep active. You actually sort of answered one of me questions there because I was going to say obviously you didn't fight, but were you doing much in that time in that year? And obviously you was,
Yeah,
maybe then.
yeah, it was. It was as I say, it was a busy year for the UFC guys. So we was all in, we was all grinding, we were all getting better, and that's what it was.
Yeah. Um. So to sort of go back then, after your amateur career, I think you had your last amateur fight in 2013. I don't believe I asked you this when we last spoke to you, but you didn't fight then till 2019. Was the reason for that big gap in your timeline?
Yeah, so I started MMA when I was quite young and, 13, 14. And at that time, obviously, my amateur career, 2013, I started it a couple of years before that, like 3 or 4 years before that. And MMA wasn't big at all back then, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
There weren't any kids really doing MMA my age and things like that. So it was hard, one, to get me matches. And then I'd put in, I'd been working. I mean, I've been in the gym since, I was say 13, doing everything I can. And then I just got to sort of 17, 18, and then I weren't getting fights. And then obviously you get to that age and you just like, you don't know what to do, don't know where to get a job. I was just a bit like, didn't really know what to do with myself at that point. And then I just went and got like a normal job and just started like working, just doing like different things and sort of come away from the gym for a couple of years. So,
yeah,
and then during that time, when I sort of come away from the gym, this was when like Till had like moved to Brazil and things like that. And then obviously, I just sort of seen his rise and seen him getting into the UFC, and then seeing all these like people around me who were like, still doing well, and it just didn't sit right with me that I was just working like a normal job and not actually like following my dream of what I wanted to do since I was a
yeah,
kid. And then I ended up just coming back in 2018, and just from then just said I'm just going to give it me all and go for it again, and that's what I've done.
yeah. What was it that you weren't able to get fights, or was it at that point the regional scene wasn't sort of what it is today?
Yeah, so as I say, I was struggling to get fights. I was like 17, I was 17, 18, around that age. And yeah, and it was like near enough impossible to get me matched. And then it was just, and obviously the regional scene was nowhere near what it is now. There was only like a handful of fighters who were
Yeah,
sort of amateurs. Obviously, when I think back to them times, you had like Paddy. He was a big amateur at the time. Guys like Aaron Robinson, things like that.
yeah,
All them people. So it was like it's just a select few of us, like younger ones, who was floating around at that time. But other than that, there weren't really like a roster of fighters where there is now. Where you've got so many gyms, you've got these young ones who are coming up, and you've got the IMAFs and things like that. You've got these things to like
yeah,
aim for as an amateur, where you're like, right, I can go and do the IMAFs, I can become a world champion in this. I've got this like platform where I can become something kind of thing. Whereas back then, the sport weren't really anything before, Conor McGregor and that sort of to blew it up to the level that it is now. It was
yeah,
just sort of flying under the radar. So, as a young kid, it's hard to sort of stay motivated and, you know, be in that environment all the time. So yeah, as I say, come away from it, but I found my way back now. So
yeah. Happy you done that, mate. Um, so the next question then, in Carbon, you train lucha libre, don't you? Um, what is that, and how does that sort of differ or compare to other styles?
yeah, so we do Luther Libre, and we do also do like BJJ as well. I've been the last few years, to be honest, I've been doing a lot of gi. But yeah, Luther Libre is actually what I started doing originally.
Right.
So that was like the first like thing that sort of got me into MMA when we had our old Brazilian coach. Marcelo Brigadeiro from Brazil who come, and he actually sort of got me started in MMA. And it's just it's a bit faster than sort of your traditional Brazilian jiu-jitsu. It's like quite submission based and like jump of submissions and things like that. There's not really that much of a difference in it, but I'd just say it's like more fast pace than
Yeah.
BJJ.
Was I had a little glance in it and mentioned something about wrestling. Is there more wrestling to it?
Yeah, so it's like wrestling based, wrestling submission based rather than just on sort of the ground.
Right. Okay. So Saturday, you got your two teammates on UFC, Aspinall and Grundy. Just sort of want your opinion on their matchups. Obviously Volkov and Amir Khani. What do you think of those matchups for the boys?
Yeah, start off with Volkov for Tom. I think it's a great matchup for Tom Aspinall, to be honest. You've got Tom, who's so fast, one of the fastest heavyweights, if not the fastest heavyweight out there, against a good striker in Volkov who's experienced, had a lot of fights. But I just think that Tom's just going to be too much for him. He's big and tall, but he hasn't got that speed that you need to fight against someone like Tom Aspinall. Like, he's not going to be coming at him with like big sharp shots. He is dangerous, don't get me wrong. He's heavyweights, he can catch anyone and knock them out. But I just think that Tom is like the next generation of heavyweights, and you can't just be coming with this slow style against someone like him. You've got to have something where you've got to be as fast as him and be able to move, because he's going to be putting that fast pace on any heavyweight. And I honestly do think that he could be a champion by the end of the year.
Yeah.
But I'm going for Tom for the KO, second, third round KO.
Nice. Yeah, I agree there. I think it's mad. These heavyweights that you see now, they are a lot more quicker than heavyweights that we've seen before. I mean, they've got a more well-rounded game as well, and I believe Tom definitely could be a champion. I've always said like him and Cyril would be a great fight like that.
Yeah, it's both very similar style. That's the fight. I think that's probably going to happen at the end of the year if all goes well for Tom. In terms of Grundy and Amir Khani, I think that's a great fight. Both of them have got very, very similar styles. Both like to wrestle. Both have got the same sort of submission choke game with head and arms, anacondas, dash chokes, things like that. But as I say, it's a great fight. I think it's flew under the radar a little bit in the UFC, and I can just see Grundy, coming out and shining in that fight. Hopefully, putting it all together. Amir Khani is notoriously known for getting tired, and Grundy, that man does not get tired, and he can push the pace for 15 minutes, 25 minutes if he needs to. So, if he can go in there, land his shots, land his takedowns, and break Amir Khani in the first round, I think that he's going to get a finish later in the second or the third.
Yeah, definitely, mate, definitely. Nice one for that. So here come the random questions, mate, that we're infamous for. But first one, so in a world that's full of distractions, how do you keep yourself focused?
Just by waking up in the morning and just pushing myself to just go to that gym every single day. That's the only way to do it. I'm literally in there 6 days a week. I wake up in the morning, I go to the gym, I come home, have a sleep, do whatever I need to do, go to the gym again in the night. It's just like, if you want to be the best fighter in the world, that's the work that you've got to put in. And when I first come back, it sort of took me a little bit to realise that I come back, I was training, I do the morning sometimes, I do the night sometimes. Obviously, I was still just getting back into it, but I ended up going to Vegas and going to the UFC PI to do like the camp with Till when he was fighting Woodley.
Yeah,
and I just seen the work that like he was putting in for that fight camp, and it sort of like clicked in my mind that like this is what it takes. It's, you can't just be doing it half-heartedly, and that's what really sort of stuck in my mind. Like when I think about the work and like the dedication that he put in, like from that point of, always try to sort of give it me all and just be in the gym as much as you can, because nothing else really matters. The outside distractions don't really matter when you've got a fight coming up. All you need to do is get in the gym, put the work in, and just train your bollocks off, and you can worry about all that stuff after that once you've got your hand raised and you've got the win.
yeah, yeah. A lot of sacrifices made to
Yeah,
be the best in the game, and
yeah.
so. Um, Next one, I've asked this one quite a bit. I've been saying what scares you, but like what I've found is people haven't necessarily said what sort of scares them. It's more what would sort of bring disappointment to them. You know what I mean? So I've still kept it as what scares you. But it can be anything. It can be in training. It can be in life in general.
Um, don't know really. In terms of like fighting, nothing really. Anything that does scare me is fucking breaking my leg on when I'm throwing a leg kick or something like that. That shit
Yeah,
puts shivers down my spine. Like I
yeah,
remember,
fuck that.
I remember like a few, I can't remember what fight it was, but it was McGregor versus Poirier, and I was fighting on like the Sunday, I think, something like that. And I watched that fight. I was all excited in the morning. Obviously, didn't stay up and watch it because I was fighting the next day. And
Yeah,
then I watched that fight and seeing like McGregor break his leg and that, and I was just like, oh my days. You know what I
I'm
mean?
not
When you
throwing leg
see, yeah, do
kicks.
you know what I mean? When you see stuff like that, and you're just like, shit.
Yeah,
It's just real shit that can happen. Like in terms of like what scares me in MMA, like that shit does scare me. But yeah, nothing else. I haven't really got many fears. The only
yeah.
cats, I don't like cats. Maybe that's
Cats,
about it. Yeah, I hate
uh,
cats. But
cats
I
a
have,
little shit, like.
yeah. But in terms of being like scared and things like that, no, it's, I'm sort of open to the fact, anything can happen in this game, and it is what it is. I'm not going to start getting caught up in my own thoughts and in my mind of like what could happen and what couldn't happen. So it's pointless being like
Yeah,
worried about it. You just need to go in there and do what you need to do.
yeah. It's mad with that thing where you're saying about the breaks and like the leg kicks and that, because until it happens, like you don't think about it, do you?
Yeah,
Like
no,
in
and
MMA.
you don't think that. That's what I mean. You just don't think it can happen to you until it happens, and it's just like
Yeah,
it's scary shit, and like until like an injury like that happens to yourself, then you just don't know. But hopefully, touch wood,
yeah.
none of that shit
E-
happens.
Even then, that's fighting through stuff in it, because like at first you're like, oh, I'm not gonna throw leg kicks, but then
Yeah,
you sort of got to, because it's part of
yeah,
the game.
it
So
is.
that's like
Yeah,
sort of a fight mentally as well. I would have
definitely,
thought.
definitely. Yeah, to come back, big respect to people who come back from shit like that, because it must take a lot of mental strength.
Yeah, definitely. Um, I don't recall seeing any when I was there on the night, but do you have any sort of rituals, or as people like to call them, superstitions, that you do before you go to fight?
No, none at all. I don't really believe in all that shit, to be honest. I just think that
Yeah,
like once you start, if you like get caught up and stuff like that in your mind of like rituals and superstitions, and then that thing doesn't happen that you want to happen, or you haven't got your lucky undies on or whatever. Like
yeah,
it's just, do you know what I mean? That stuff can't affect you. This is fighting. At the end of the day, you turn up. I'm
yeah,
just going in there and giving it my best. You know what I mean? That's all you can do is get in there and try and do what I do best in the cage. And that's just my mentality when I get in there. It's just to, try my hardest and try and put my game plan in and win the fight. And, you know, if it happens, great. If it doesn't,
yeah,
then the better man won. I'm not going to get all superstitious and think, I haven't got any lucky undies on my gum shield or this, that, and the other. It's
yeah,
just get in there and, you don't want to fight at the end of the day. It's not about superstitions and rituals personally for me anyway.
Yeah, yeah. And this one, I know, like this would be different for everyone, but in that sort of moments before you're heading to the cage, you're in the area ready to go in. What's sort of going through your mind? And obviously, by the sounds of it, like you're not worrying about other external things. Or in that moment, last few seconds before you walk down, your music comes on. What's going through your mind?
Yeah, as I've just said, then just go in there and give it my best and try and do what I do. This is what I do. I train in the gym every single day for these moments to get in a cage and fight another person. Like I've done I've done that every single day for the past however many years now that I've been back. So it's just the same. It's the same
Yeah,
concept. I'm going in there. I'm going to fight another person like I do a sparring in the gym, or I'm going to grapple another person like I do in the gym. I'm going to do all these things that I train for every single day anyway. So it's like natural to me. So when I'm getting in there, all I can do is go and do what I do in the gym anyway. So that's all that's in my mind. Is just go and do what I do in the gym, give it me all,
yeah,
give it me best shot, and hopefully that's enough on the night.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, that's all I have for you, mate. You probably got to get back to training and stuff, but Raph, Uchegbu, I got to
Yeah,
write this down, didn't I?
yeah,
Yeah, I got it messed up on the last one. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you, mate. You've been smashing it, and
nice one.
this title is yours, mate. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So
definitely,
appreciate your time, appreciate you
no problem.
coming on and speaking to
Thanks
me.
for having me on, mate. Appreciate it.
Enjoy the rest of your day, mate.
Thanks, you too. See you later.
Thanks.
Bye.